Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Castaway Anime. I'm your host, NeonManta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
And today we're taking a break from My Dress Up Darling and getting copyright struck by Aniplex to talk about a different anime from the podcast.
That hopefully won't also get copyright striked. Because it was painful to lose those 300 views, but at least we regained them, I think.
We did, and then the video is kind of stifling right now. Like, all of our views came in the first day, and now we get 8 new ones every day afterwards. It kind of tanked the video.
I guess it popped off on Reddit.
Thanks for that,
and
Aniplex.
Yeah, thank you very much, anime companies loving copyright laws always. Loving to abuse it, that is.
I have no idea which company owns the rights to the Bisco anime, but we'll see if they come after us. This is gonna be all future NeonManta's work, but since I'm editing with all that new overlay stuff to mess with the footage and the sound, to sneak it past the sneaky copyright trolls until YouTube gets off its fucking ass and gives us geo-blocking. Because that's apparently the only way we can survive in this goddamn forsaken industry.
I mean, hey, it's like you said, you can it basically gives you less incentive to edit the podcast as much since you can't put in as many clips. So, hey, we might be able to get them out faster? Probably not that much faster, but hey, a day earlier.
A little faster than normal. Yeah.
Yeah, we shave off a day. Well, anyway, back to the show at hand. How's about that?
Yeah, how's about that Rust Eater Bisco? Also, shout out to r/Sabikui Bisco, because there's no way I could put this podcast on their Reddit, because last time I tried that with the seasonal podcast, they took it down. Very sad.
I guess we can still post it to r/anime, so it doesn't really matter too much, hopefully.
Yeah, we can post it to r/anime and get fucking downvoted into oblivion like every single post we do there does. I mean, every post still gets 1,000 to 2,000 views and impressions, so as long as a few of those trickle into the views and the likes, even the dislikes, because honestly, yeah, even disliking the video still helps it in the algorithm for some reason. So if you enjoyed the podcast, if you enjoyed the podcast, be sure to leave a comment, and a subscribe. It really helps us out, especially after that whole Dress Up Darling Aniplex copyright strike business we got into. I think the strike will get lifted soon, but anyway, that's enough of that. It's time to talk about some Bisco and the rust eating thereof. What do you think?
Do you just want general thoughts on the show for now?
Yeah, just general thoughts.
All right. I thought it was actually surprisingly solid. Or I guess not surprisingly, since I did enjoy the first episode. There are some times when it sort of falters in quality, and I'll get into that. And there are things I don't like about it, and things that are meh, but overall, I'd say that it is decidedly my type of show in the end. It's not as good as Dress Up Darling, so, definitely not show of the season or anything like that, but it is solid.
It's definitely the best, solely narrative-driven show of the season that's, not a sequel. I'm sure the fucking Demon Slayer and Attack on Titan fans will be rolling out the axes and the grindstones, if you even suggest as such, but as far as standalone shows this season, it's definitely the best narrative-driven one.
To be fair, it is the only narrative-driven show that I have actually watched this season, so...
Oh, no, that's not true. You watched every single show that came out this last season. This is the only good one.
I meant the only one I continued. Yeah, the only one I continued. I watched the first episode of everything. Or less than that. Depended.
I'm sure the girls' frontline community was very understanding of our scathing takes of their show, and maybe it got better, but something tells me that the girls' frontline anime isn't gonna be pulling as much weight as Rust Eater Bisco has been.
For sure. How do you want to structure this? Do you want to just like do episode by episode, episode 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7?
Yeah, we can go down the list. What thing that changed from episode 2 onward that the first episode didn't have? We've got our look at the opening. It's all right. I feel like the animation is like strong in some parts and weak in others. Like, the thing that stood out to me the most is that the waves and geysers of sand from the desert kind of looked a little weak. Like the shading was very simple, very I don't know. The word just weak just kind of came to mind as I saw them. They didn't animate very smoothly.
My thoughts on the OP. I at first, when I booted up episode 2, and the first thing I saw were a bunch of fat fucking fish flying around, I was very confused for a moment. But then I remembered, oh wait, this is Rust Eater Bisco. It's just weird like that. And continued to enjoy the show. As for the song, it's actually like really good. I really like the song, and I can't find the opening on YouTube anywhere except for like the full version.
Yeah, I know. I tried looking up the opening on YouTube back when the podcast was out, because I was looking for clips to put in the seasonal podcast, and I was like, why can't I can find the song, but I can't find the actual opening. I guess maybe that's like super copyright strikeable. I don't even get why like the official, whoever owns the rights to the show, doesn't upload the opening to their channel like they do with My Dress of Darling or Akapi Sailor Uniform.
But I mean, whatever. Yeah, like I've watched anime because of the opening before, and this one's catchy. I might have started it because of the opening if I didn't watch it for the seasonal cast.
I liked the imagery of like the fish waves and the giant whales. We haven't seen them in the show proper, but it feels like it's one of those things where it's just a what if scenario that could happen in the show. Like it's like an episode that doesn't exist but could exist, and we are seeing that play out in the opening. The song is by, I forget what the title of it is. It's by Juna, who usually puts out bangers. She did the second Kakegururi opening, and she did the opening, the first one I think, to Ancient Magus Bride, both of which are really fucking good. She has a hell of a voice on her. This one was just kind of okay. I think the music, the backing music of it doesn't match up with like the strength of her singing voice. But that's just me.
I haven't heard her other stuff. Personally, I would classify this as a bona fide banger.
Oh yeah, if you've heard the Ancient Magus Bride OP, you'll see Juna's got some fucking pipes on her.
I guess I'll have to look into it. There's one shot from the OP that for some reason is just like really memorable for no reason, and it's of Milo's sister. Her name is Pawu, I think. It's a close-up of her on her bike, and for some reason it just looks really cool. For no reason.
I think it's because I might be misremembering it, but it might be at like a bit of a Dutch angle or a couple of like a fisheye lens.
It's at a Dutch
also from
angle,
like a worm's eye perspective. It's definitely a very cool shot. Yeah. So how did you feel about the show going onward from episode 1 from the podcast? How have your thoughts changed from then to now?
So a bit of context into how I started episode 2. Because when I was about to like watch all the episodes for the podcast, I considered starting from like episode 1 because I knew that there was like a lot of world building stuff, and it was kind of subtle with it all, and I didn't really remember the details incredibly well, so I was like, should I rewatch it? But in the end, I decided against like actually rewatching the episode, and I immediately began to regret it because I had no idea what was happening at first. My mind was like reeling, trying to remember, like, okay, what happened before? How did we get to this point? And so,
well, the reason
half of the episode,
the reason that
episode was
the reason why you were thinking that way was because much like the first episode, I remember we were criticizing the show for the first episode back in the winter podcast, and that continues not just into the second episode, but into the third and fourth episodes as well. They keep cross-cutting through not just like between scenes that are happening at the same time, they're cross-cutting through time and place. and that fucks with the pacing hard, and that actively hurt my enjoyment of the show because I found it hard to keep track of the series of events, the sequence of events rather, and I was like the most precise example I can think of was during the end of episode 2, where we see the pink-haired girl, the jellyfish girl. After she's like flying her weaponized snail aircraft. The first time we see her in episode 2, she's getting chewed out by the governor, who we'll talk more about him later, and he tells her to go downtown after Bisco to capture him. And then the next scene we see of her in the context of the episode, it's in the past, and where she's flying that giant weaponized snail aircraft to go after him and the old man. And then the scene after that one, I guess Bisco captured her. This is like once again now back like in the closest thing we can call the present. I guess he captured her at one point, and he's like stepping on her, make sure like she doesn't get away. Like, all right, who do you work for? And I swear to God, he must have captured her off screen, because I do not remember a scene from the first episode or any of these past episodes, early episodes rather, where he caught her.
I don't really remember when he caught her either. In terms of like the cross-cutting, I remember in the first podcast, I actually sort of disagreed with that criticism because I didn't find it too difficult to follow along. But with episode 2, they kept on. The one that got me was the desert, because at first didn't realize it was happening in the past. I thought it was happening in the present. And so when the one guy with like all the bandages, takes them off,
you thought that was a different character?
He's Bisco. And it was revealed like what he looked like. My initial thought was, oh, Bisco has a twin? Wait, no, that doesn't make sense.
No, it's just bad pacing.
Yeah,
it could have been worse.
It's ambitious. Yeah, it's ambitious. I suppose it could have been worse.
We could have gotten hit with another Peach Boy Riverside fiasco. Remember that?
Did you continue Peach Boy?
I have not, if only because I heard the horror stories of you know what happened with Peach Boy Riverside's anime, right?
They Haruhi'd it to high heaven and hell.
They Haruhi'd it into oblivion. They were like, hey, what if we, the like straightforward pacing of the manga? What if we said balls to that and aired the episodes out of order in our own made-up fantasy sequential order, so that way at the very end of the show, we can leave it to our fans to do fucking homework and place the episodes in chronological order for us and themselves. And like, what were they thinking?
I mean, maybe it works. I'd have to watch it, but I'm probably just gonna read the manga, not gonna lie.
I've checked with Peach Boy fans online, like forums and like the subreddit, and all of them are like, no, this fucking sucks. They ruined it. Which is sad to hear. They did our boy Cool Kyo dirty like that.
Very sad. Twitter. Very sad.
This man deserves way better than what he gets. God knows he deserves better fans than what fucking Twitter drudges up about Dragon Maid every other month. I know you're not on Twitter, but at the time of recording on March 6th, 2022, which is yesterday for us, there was a whole thing with Dragon Maid where it was getting compared to Western animation, and it's another one of those Western animation sucks, anime for life. And the gif that this one asshole used to be like, oh, this one scene is way better than anything Western animation's put out in the past 10 years is the scene from season 2 of Ilulu and Kana licking Saiko's cheeks at licking the ice cream off her cheeks from the what was it, the carnival? Yeah, have you seen season 2 yet?
No, I still haven't. I need to get on that, but
How
always
the fuck
take
have you
forever
not seen season 2 yet?
I take forever to watch things that I know I'll like, and I don't understand the thought process behind it.
All right,
at this point, I'm probably just gonna rewatch season 1 before season 2. I have it on Blu-ray, so I can rewatch it on the big screen.
I was literally about to say, at this point, we'll throw Dragon Maid onto the podcast show, and we'll put it in the podcast pipeline just so you can watch season 2, just as an excuse. Any excuse is
Honestly,
a good excuse
I would not
to
mind
watch
that.
Dragon Maid. Damn it!
Fair enough.
You're actively cucking yourself out of a masterpiece.
I know I'll love it. I know it's gonna be a 10 out of 10, but for some reason, I haven't watched it yet. And I don't understand myself why.
Alright, well, we're getting sidetracked. Back to anime, back to Rusty or Bisco.
The moral of the story is that Twitter sucks, and I'm glad I left it. That's the end of that tangent. So my overall thoughts on Rusty or Bisco's second episode, I'm just gonna be as blunt as possible. I thought it was bad. I thought it was a bad second episode. And the reason for this is admittedly...
it was bad per se, but go on.
Yeah, and the reason why is admittedly kind of personal. So if you know anything about what I like in shows, you know that I love me some dialogue, but more importantly, I despise me some action scenes. Maybe despise is a bit strong, but I just kind of find these like big, like flashy action sequences sort of inherently boring, just by nature of them being big flashy action sequences. And Rusty Eater Bisco's second episode is just nothing but like big flashy shootout action sequences. There's bits and pieces of like world building, and that's what, kept me from disliking the episode entirely. But overall, it's just a lot of action, and I just felt myself zoning out more and more each second. And it didn't help that I was also really confused about what the hell was even happening. So, not a good combo.
I wouldn't say the second episode is bad per se. God knows that Crunchyroll was doing everything in their power to make the episode and the show as a whole ugly as fuck to watch. Cause I noticed this. I took a screenshot of it because it made my eyes bleed so bad. You know how Crunchyroll will subtitle their shows, and when there's Japanese text on screen, like a billboard or a piece of paper, they'll write English subtitles like somewhere next to, or like they'll put it on top of the paper or whatever. They'll put it on top of the Japanese text.
Oh no.
What they did here is that there was a billboard in front of a Milo's Panda Clinic hospital, and what I can only assume on it, because I didn't watch the raw no subtitle footage, I watched the English subtitle footage, is that they they composited a gray box. It looks like it could be like in the show itself, like the animators could have put it in themselves and allowed Crunchyroll's team to subtitle over it. It looks like they put a gray box over the Japanese sign and wrote subtitles on top of it, but it just looks ugly. And like, I was able to notice it because when I hit the left arrow key on my keyboard to skip back a few seconds to look at it, the video playback thing on the website, like the panel on it blinked like out of existence like a couple frames after it switched from the shot of the hospital to the shot of the interior where they're getting shot at. And you can see it like linger just enough to know that they did put some kind of panel overlay composite into the episode, and it looks bad. It just looks bad.
Well, luckily I was not watching this on Crunchyroll subs, so I was not witness to that. Thankfully. I don't know what subs
use those
they're
60
from.
free days. I gotta use the 60 free days they're giving out now that they've finally absorbed Funimation into themselves.
Well, NeonManta, luckily I was not witness to Crunchyroll's awful subs, because I got my subs from the crime store, the big crime prison. The best place for subs.
What a great place to get subtitled anime that I will not elaborate on further as a way to plead the fifth.
Unknown crime place that I was not aware of. Neither of us are aware of it, it is an unknown area in which subs are made.
Plead the fifth, plead the fifth. Speaking of ugly things in the show, the giant CG crab is the biggest problem visually with the show. Every time it shows up, my eyes bleed.
Yeah, I agree with that. I sort of got used to it and didn't mind it too much since that was one of the few CG things in the show. You know, I was just glad there wasn't more CG, but it would have been better in 2D animation, obviously.
And I know that we're jumping ahead a little bit, but it blows my mind that they can make the crabs. You're like, okay, I get it. It's probably a pain in the ass to 2D animate the intricate movements of a crab, even though they fucking cheat with Octagawa the crab, and he doesn't have big. He has big movements. He just doesn't have small, detailed, articulated movements that would require like a fine attention to detail and a shit ton of animating. But yet in episode 7, with the pipe snake, the giant behemoth Loch Ness monster with wings that flows through the air, that was entirely 2D. They didn't CG that, so what was the deal?
You know, I was surprised they didn't make that CG. I mean, there was literally like a single brief cut of animation where the giant pipe snake was CG, and that was it. I guess
it lasted for like all of 2 seconds.
Yeah,
and then it looks like it doesn't look as good as something from like Made in Abyss where they don't CG any of the monsters because Kinema Citrus actually gave a shit about making the show look good. But honestly, like a lot of these, like especially that monster, if you made it like gave it a little more touch of deep fantasy and naturally like made it prettier looking, technically wise, they could fit into the world of Made in Abyss.
Honestly, I when I saw the monster, I actually immediately thought, wow, Made in Abyss. I guess the reason why Octagawa is CG and not the pipe snake is just because the pipe snake is there for half an episode, whereas the crab is there for the entire series, presumably. I guess they just wanted, just in case they had to do a season 2, some sort of insurance to make sure that they could sort of skimp costs there.
And it's weird that they do that because the character art on all the characters is like really good. The show, I'd say as a whole, I would have to watch more episodes of Akabe Sailor Uniform. I haven't gotten a chance to yet because Elden Ring has been taking up a majority of my time. But I would say of all the shows this season, as far as like a wide range of character designs, this one has the best of the season.
Yeah, I really like the character designs in this. They're all slightly wacky, but like in ways that are also like not just blatantly absurd, but like kind of interesting in subtle ways. For the character art, the character art is consistently on model. It's not always, stellar looking or whatever, but it is like always consistent. It's very consistent.
I'd say it's slightly above average in its consistency, which is a lot more than you could say for a lot of seasonal shows. So, good on Studio Oz for their debut show. Although I was curious about one thing because after I finished watching the ED of episode 2, I noticed that instead of a logo for whatever Studio Oz's logo is, I saw the logo for Studio Naz. And I looked online, and apparently Naz is also helping with the show, but all the Wikipedia page and the Mal page list Oz as like the main animation studio behind it. So I couldn't find any news if Oz is like an offshoot of Naz or like a sub studio. So if anyone in the comments or anyone watching would want to leave a comment that knows more than us, feel free to let us know. I'm definitely not silently manipulating you to increase our engagement.
Please comment on our videos. We need it.
And unironically, we do appreciate it. We love interacting with what few fans that we have.
You were saying something earlier, but I sort of cut you off.
Oh yeah, I was saying that the character designs, like you were mentioning that they all have this little quirk to them, like they're all a little goofy. But like just goofy enough, they all like tend to have like one quirk that makes them stand out. And like Bisco, he has like definitely the most striking silhouette of the of the entire cast with that red spiky hair, his long flowing cape, the bow, the big toothy sharp teeth grin. He's definitely a very good character design. All of them are good, man. I love Milo's design. I love that he just has the. Do they even explain what the black mark around his eye is that people call him a panda for? Or it's just a thing that exists, and you know what? Yeah. I'm glad that there's not an explanation, because it would no explanation that they give would be worth it. It would not be satisfying.
One thing
you know what? Nope, he's just Panda Man. I'm okay with that.
One thing I have to say about Bisco's design is that his is the most expressive consistently, I found. He has a lot of very nice facial expressions that are just a joy to look at. The other two designs aren't as expressive, but I do still like that they have like those quirks to them. Just very, very good character designs all around.
And my favorite design absolutely has to be Pawu. You know what it is? She just gives off big Satsuki Kiruin vibes. She's got the white, what would you call like a marine coat that she did, and they do the cool anime thing where they don't actually wear it. They just wear it like it on their shoulders and the sleeves, and the back part of it just like fly out, almost kind of like a cape. Like that, I always love that shit in anime. I love the black bodysuit that she wears. I love the metal. What is it on her head? Is it like, I thought it was a mask at first, but it looks like it's just like a metal armor plate.
Yeah, maybe some kind of helmet or something. I don't know. I'm looking at.
I don't know what it is, but I think
right now.
I think it looks fucking cool. I love her giant. Her weapon is just a giant iron pole. It's not even sharp. She just whacks people with a giant iron stick, basically. I also love this.
Oh, go on.
I was just gonna say, I also love how both she and Bisco are just superhumanly strong, and they don't give any proper explanation for it, which I'm also kind of just cool with, because I was like, oh yeah, this is the post-apocalypse. I'm sure some of the people just have superhuman strength. There's fucking mushroom. This guy is shooting arrows that makes mushrooms grow out of the ground. I'm not gonna question too much shit. The show has not gone so far out of the realm of like they can just pull whatever bullshit they want out of their ass and expect us to buy it. They're keeping it compared like restrained in the context of their own universe.
Yeah. Personally, my favorite character design was T-Roll's character design. Well, actually, did your subs say T-Roll or Chiroru?
I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I noticed that both looking at her character page on Mal and also the subs. My Crunchyroll sub said T-Roll. I think they tried to pronounce it like Tiroru, but that, cause I looked up, that's her romanized name in English, but in Japan it's pronounced Chiroru with the three syllables. So right, I'm gonna call her Chiroru.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that then, if that's like the original Japanese pronunciation. Personally,
I think we're getting Eris Aerith with her name. even though Eris is the actually correct name, but everyone's just been calling her Aerith for so long that you just kind of can't win anymore.
Personally, Chiroru's design was my favorite because all right, so she's like the jellyfish, right? She has these sort of like pigtails, except there's like hair. 6 of them. And it's like a weird design thing, but it somehow looks adorable at the same time. So
I didn't think that it looks like a jellyfish until she pointed it out, and since she did, she was like, I'm like, oh man, I really like this design a lot more now.
Yeah, it's fucking great.
Speaking of cool designs, the last one we want to talk about is the governor, who he has not, in the 7 episodes that we've watched, he's only had a presence in like 3 of them. But I gotta say, while he hasn't done much, and I'm sure he's gonna do more in the last 5 episodes of the show that we'll cover when they're all done, he is a very immediately cool villain. Like he harkens back to post-apocalypse stories where a former political figure or just some guy assumes power in the post-apocalypse and forms a makeshift government and puts himself at the top.
Personally, the thing I like most about him is his voice. Like, the voice acting on him, his voice is very nice. He has, like, this cold, sort of almost deadpan, drawling voice as he just, like, points the gun at someone. It's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, I love that he never loses his cool. I was literally just about to look up who his voice actor is, but apparently Mal is having an internal server error. Oopsie.
It is Kenjiro Suda.
I'll have to look up who else he... Can you see what other characters he played?
I'm looking through them right now. He voiced Tatsu from The Way of the Household, although I didn't watch that.
Oh no, don't watch the anime. You'll be sad. Just read the manga.
Oh wait, he voiced Orsted from Mushoku Tensei.
I've not seen that yet, but I'll assume that's a good voice. That's a good character.
He also voiced Kento Nanami from Jujutsu Kaisen, which I know you also.
I was working again, and I looked up Kenjiro Suda, what he did. He's Seto Kaiba. He's the Japanese voice of Kaiba from the Yu-Gi-Oh anime.
Oh, I have not seen.
And he's also
Yu-Gi-Oh. Oh, he's Atomic Samurai from One Punch Man.
Yeah, I did see that, and he's also Overhaul from Mid-Hero Academia. Wait, did I just say that out loud?
Oh no, you'll let it slip.
That's a story for another time. Anyway, back to the show. The governor, his outfit is fucking sick. It's all black with like white accents with the scarf and the hat that make him stand out. And he's dripped out like a black Alucard from Hellsing. That's what his design reminded me of the most.
Kurokawa didn't... I don't think I got as attached to him as you did, but he's not a bad villain. I can see him becoming pretty compelling. You know?
He drops my favorite line that like immediately sold me on him in the second episode, where he's talking about after Bisco's like running rampant all over the city. He's like, man, all I wanted to do was just kick back at the local movie theater and watch Star Wars and Alien films, and this motherfucker Bisco's ruining everything. Because we see on the marquee of the theater, Wars and Alien, and he's talking about he wanted to see sci-fi masterpieces back to back. This motherfucker just wants to chill and watch Star Wars.
That admittedly was a pretty amusing line, although it also, admittedly, by that point in the episode, I was kind of just completely spaced out and kind of hoping for it to end. Just
but then he drops then he drops the actual line that sold me on, and he was like, and his subordinate was like, after he was complaining about he wasn't able to watch all the movies, his subordinate was like, "You have my sympathy." To which he replies, "Moron, my thoughts aren't so simple that you can empathize with them." And I'm like, that's fucking awesome. Just for him to think that his wanting to just watch sci-fi movies, something as banal as that, and it's like, yeah, you can't empathize with this thought that it's not that simple for a simpleton like you in comparison. I'm like, that's awesome.
To be fair, you need a very high IQ to understand Star Wars.
God knows the fans believe so. Yeah, we find out that Bisco's mission is to find the Rust Eater mushroom so he can cure his old man mentor Jabi's rust, because he's infected with it just like Pawu is.
Yeah, admittedly, pretty predictable that Rust Eater Bisco, well, he's not the Rust Eater. Bisco was going to turn out to be the good guy. I sort of thought so the second I saw that the show's title was Rust Eater Bisco. His name is literally in the title.
I don't think that was a big revelation.
Yeah, I don't think it was meant to be.
I love the monster designs of the show, especially the weaponized monster designs. Like we mentioned the snail aircraft, how it shoots missiles and then also like spews out what was it, acid from its mouth when Jellyfish Girl was attacking like Bisco. And I'm like, that's fucking baller.
Yeah, the general sort of design sense of this show, like all the rusted over stuff and, the barren wastelands and the many different environments, this sort of gets more appealing as the show goes on because the characters visit a variety of different locales. But the general design sense of this show is very well realized. And I think that's the best thing about this show from a visual perspective. Even better than the character designs is like, because the animation isn't always all that crisp. And sometimes the character art doesn't look all that pretty, even if it is on model. But the fact that the show doesn't feel limited in its visual design, the fact that it can portray everything, and that what it's portraying feels like it was fully realized with the budget they were on, that is the most impressive part of the show visually for me. Because I mean, if it felt more limited
Everything
as it went
crab.
on, like maybe with the exception of the crab, yes. Because like if it started feeling limited as it went on, I can see my sort of interest in the show rapidly declining. So I'm glad it feels as realized as it does.
Yeah, it definitely feels like an inspired world. Like it of all like, because I suppose you can chalk this up as a fantasy show. Even though it's like you could chalk up post-apocalyptic as like a subgenre of fantasy. Hell, you could even, if you want to get a little wacky, you could describe zombie shows as like fantasy if you really wanted to. But I love the very peculiar natures, like the little quirks of the show. Like I like the author was like, you know what, these motherfuckers are gonna ride around. Their main method of transportation is gonna be a giant crab. And they're going to be able to talk to the crab.
It feels like the author's stream of consciousness has just been transplanted like into this world. And so it's just like, it's post-apocalyptic, but also it's completely over the top wacky and ridiculous, and it's amazing, and I love it.
I wonder if the author is playing Elden Ring recently and maybe was wishing that he killed the crab character off at any point after fighting the crabs in Elden Ring. Because goddamn, those crabs are bastards.
Dude, you mentioned Elden Ring today, and then I walk out in the hallway, and my brother immediately said, "Hey, did you know that Elden Ring came out?"
Yeah, it's a sign, bro. You should play Elden Ring. Do you even have
I
PS4?
I haven't played any of the other Souls games.
You don't need to. Literally neither have I.
All right. Maybe I'll give it a shot.
Do you have a PS4?
No, I do not have a PS4.
Aw, damn, PS5? As I know that's
not a PS5.
Harder to get. Damn. No PS4, no PS5, no bitches.
You didn't have to say that last one, I already know.
Then we find out in episode 3 that the mushrooms actually grow from consuming rust and don't actually spread it as most people are led to believe. Which is why people take such offense to the mushroom keepers when they go around spreading mushrooms. They think they're mushroom terrorists.
Yeah, it's another show about like those sort of society-wide misconceptions. Like I think we got Orient. I think that's what it was called last season or this season, which was also about like sort of a society-wide misconception. But this one's pretty all right.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring up Orient, not just because I think the main characters of Bisco and Orient have very similar designs now that I think about it. But yeah, this show just takes Orient and kind of does it but better. It just kind of beats it into the fucking ground.
What I like is that sort of like the society-wide misconception and how Bisco fights that sort of works into his character in a really interesting way. Because his whole shtick, right, is that he puts on this sort of like rough, always angry, very unlikable demeanor, when in actuality, he's just a good-hearted dude looking to fight for justice and good, and he's very nice deep down. And that sort of
I wouldn't necessarily say he's a warrior of justice. He's just trying to do.
I'm being a little facetious, but
yeah. He's more of he is trying to. It is the goal of the good mushroom keepers, because we are told by Jabi that there are some bad mushroom keepers, but it is a general goal to use the power of the mushrooms to consume the rust and stop it from spreading and infecting people. So
Yeah.
it's Bisco takes it upon himself with Jobby in tow to spread as many mushrooms around as possible all across the land, searching far and wide to spread the mushrooms with the power that's inside.
And what I like about the specific way he sort of plants the mushroom is like he doesn't care if it destroys buildings or ruins infrastructure, causes millions of dollars of debt. He just wants to get those mushrooms out there consuming the rust. He doesn't care about collateral damage. And also, I'm really glad that you mentioned. You go on.
I was just gonna say, you know what? If it's worth literally just consuming what is essentially a airborne virus that slowly. Did they tell us what exactly like rusting, how it like could kill you? Because obviously we see what it looks like on Jobby and Pawoo, especially Pawoo, because like half of her body is coated in rust. But have we shown like how it exactly it kills? Does it just like consume your skin? Yeah, it goes into your lungs. I'm remembering it now. It gets into your lungs and kills you, keeps you from breathing.
I didn't actually remember that.
But if you just like breathe in the rust, it's just like actually like breathing in incredibly toxic fumes and you die.
You were mentioning how wait, I'm trying to remember it now. I think I forgot.
Orient?
No, not Orient. Some other
Pawoo?
thing about that some of the mushroom keepers were actually bad. I really like that detail just because it's that one detail that makes it just that much more believable. This whole like society-wide misconception that mushroom keepers are actually bad, because like some of them are bad, and that's part, the actual bad eggs stop people from realizing that most of them actually aren't terrible people. Just sort of
we find out in yeah, we do find out in episode 5 that there was a case of a mushroom keeper that was going around to a town of people who at first they thought he was just trying to cure them, but then the 2 survivors find out that he was actually experimenting on them the whole time with his mushrooms and caused the most of the citizens to get wiped out except for those 2. So we do know that there are some bad mushroom keepers afoot, and maybe we'll see them within the next 5 episodes. Maybe we won't. I can't imagine how they'll naturally fit in a evil mushroom keeper when we're this deep into the what is I think the climax of what we can call season 1. We don't know if there will be any more seasons of the show, but with the way things are going now, I can't imagine they can fit any more major plot threads in what little space there's left.
Maybe it is a fairly fast-paced show,
I suppose.
Okay, so I'm just looking for my notes here.
What did you think of the fight between Bisco and Pawoo?
It was all right. It didn't really get me tense or excited or anything like that, but I think that's more of a me problem, just because it's so hard to get me to give a fuck about an action sequence or a fight scene.
What you got against fight scenes, bruh? Like, I understand, like, the kind of fight scenes that Digi back in the day in his Astro's War Sucks video talking about, like, 2 characters we don't know and have no investment in fighting, or, like, opening with a fight scene with characters we don't know. But at least at this point, we know who Bisco and Pawoo are.
I mean, also at that point, we didn't know... I mean, I guess we knew a little bit about Bisco, so never mind that one. I don't know. It's not, like, poorly made or anything like that, It's not terribly animated or just garbage in every way. It's just so hard for me to care about fighting, man. I just want my characters to talk things out. This is why I'm a Nisio Isin fan.
If you like that, there's a little show I could recommend to you called Steven Universe. Or hey, maybe you'll even like Naruto, because I've heard every villain gets defeated with the power of Naruto's talk no jutsu, so who knows?
That's a few 2 episodes for me to want to get into right now.
Come on, it's only like, what, 600?
Oh yeah, only 600.
Not counting Boruto?
God, how far along is Boruto? Actually, that'd be another tangent. I don't want to get into that one.
I don't care to know how far Boruto is right now.
Back to the episode. I like Jobby. He's a very playful man, and I like him. And also,
Yeah,
he's the exposition
he's
machine.
fun. The one time they did cross-cutting well in the show was when they're cross-cutting between his explanation of Mushroom Keepers and the Rust to Milo, and then cutting back to Bisco and Pawoo on the roof talking, and Bisco trying to explain himself, but Pawoo's just having none of it. The one highlight of their fight, I agree in the sense that it's not a bad fight scene, but it's not like a blow your dick off. Whoa, I'm just a little bit moist right now after watching that. It's just like a serviceable fight. The highlight though is when Pawoo knocks Bisco into a giant bowling pin, which is just there for some reason. Don't question it. And then when she like smashes into the bowling pin to try to kill him and breaks it apart, it makes a sound effect of pins in a bowling alley getting knocked over by a bowling ball.
Oh yeah,
I appreciated
noticed that. Yeah, I wrote a note about the giant bowling
fun.
pin. That was my favorite part of the fight because it's like a bit of interesting choreography and stuff like that, sort of using the landscape. Still don't know why the giant bowling pin was there, but doesn't need an explanation. It's just quirky and shit.
Any explanation they could possibly give would not be satisfying. It would make the show worse. So Bisco wins the fight, and then Bisco agrees to take Milo with him on their big quest to find the Rust Eater mushroom and cure the rust of both Jabi and Pawoo, and they're probably gay for each other. At least Milo for Bisco, because Milo like blushes around Bisco more often than most male anime characters blush against their 5 feet apart because they're not gay male friend characters.
Honestly didn't think it was setting up too much for a gay romance or anything like that. Although maybe you don't think it was setting up for it.
I'm probably just reading too much into it, and it's probably just because Milo is just such a good boy, and just he's just a well-mannered Christian boy.
The way I sort of rationalized his blushing in my mind was just, he's a blushy boy, blushy nice boy.
One thing that I didn't understand, why couldn't they take Pawoo with them on their journey?
I'm trying to remember.
I mean, obviously the answer is to continue to push the gay agenda. They can't possibly have Pawoo muscling in on Milo's man.
What I think it is that, so Milo, he's like very protective of his sister because she has the rust, right? He like doesn't want her, exerting herself too much physically. He doesn't want anyone with any sort of injury, and specifically the rust, to be exerting themselves physically. So what I think the answer to that is just that he doesn't want her to go on the whole exhausting journey. He just wants her to stay put and for him to get her the cure, and then she can move around once she's cured of the rust. I think.
You see, I can kind of see that, but Pawoo could kick Milo's ass no problem and is like way more capable of a fighter than he ever is. And like she goes after him anyway and risks herself, even though she is infected with the rust, which just makes her more of a badass, knowing that she is infected with what is essentially a super cancer that's already taken like half of her body, yet she still is a fucking super soldier. That's just badass.
I mean, it'd be the logical thing to have her come along, but I think it's just sort of Milo's personality sort of getting in the way of logic, which, depending on the viewer, that's gonna annoy you or not annoy you.
I mean,
so
they get together in episode 7 anyway, so it's not like it would have taken much convincing to turn Pawoo onto their side. So I don't get it. That was a big what was the point kind of deal.
Oh yeah, I honestly forgot that the biggest reason was just that she hated Bisco. I think at that moment Milo thought she would be harder to convince, so that's also
but if Milo was just right there,
if
she woke up and Milo was right there, it'd be like, no, sis, trust me, he's cool.
But also, how feasible would it be to escape their current situation while having Pawoo in a princess carry or something like that?
I mean, Bisco's a strong boy. He lifted a hippo at one point and threw it at a bunch of other hippos.
Fair.
You think he can't lift a woman?
I don't know.
Also,
I'm not annoyed by it too much.
It started raining all of a sudden over here, so if you hear rain or thunder in the audio recording, that's my B. Then we get onto the journey at hand. The third episode ends with they stop at a war memorial temple with a bunch of turrets adorning a hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil kind of temple. And once again, they continue to cross-cut through time and space by having the fourth episode start with oh god, like I know it does not start with the war temple stuff, or either it does. See, that's the problem with the pacing in this editing. It makes me. I watched this episode not even 6 hours ago, and I couldn't tell you which scene came first because they air them out of order when they don't need to.
See, when I first saw that scene at the very end of episode 3, I was really disappointed that they didn't, spend more time at the temple, because it seemed like a really cool location. And then when I got about halfway into episode 4, I was like, fuck, gotta delete that note. They actually do stay there. So it's just very confusing.
With another note about how the pacing is fucked.
I guess I'm just going to use this chance also to sort of wrap my thoughts around episode 3, or wrap up my thoughts about episode 3 in general. I think it's better than episode 2. It's not bad like episode 2. I'd say it's 5 out of 10, light to strong 5 out of 10 about that. Just sort of okay, mediocre.
How do you feel about Octogawa the Crab as a character? Because we see him sort of have a form of some kind of bond between Milo and himself, where Milo would try to tame him, and Octogawa would just throw him off, be like, fuck you, bitch, a lol, epic prank.
Octogawa doesn't really have, at least that I could pick up, much of a set-in-stone personality, per se. It's more just funny crab do funny crab things. I was more interested in how Milo was sort of, trying to ride the crab, and his sort of thoughts towards Octogawa. And his sort of journey to taming the crab. I thought that was a really endearing scene, actually. Got a good smile out of me.
Yeah, I like how Octogawa, not Octogawa, Milo was even though he couldn't ride the crab at all, when he's trying to apply medicine to the crab to keep it from getting hurt, to treat its injuries from when Jellyfish Girl tried to commit Grand Theft Crab on it. It seems like Octogawa is impressed and taken aback by Milo's command. Milo is a lot more commanding when he is trying to doctor what are essentially his patients, and he's like, yeah, you don't try to act so tough when you're injured, so now let me treat you. And then Octogawa will listen to him then, and then impresses even Bisco, who's like, well, you can't even ride him, but you can make him essentially sit like a dog.
I didn't actually pick up on the reason why Octogawa listens to his medicine and not his riding until you mentioned that, because wasn't his flaw with the riding was that he wasn't assertive enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, that's really neat then.
I also love speaking of calling back. I love the callback that they did with Bisco and Milo eating those deep fried. They're sun-fried lizards just for nutrients, and much like how earlier in I think the second episode, Jabi was teaching Bisco not to chew, just to swallow his bitter gut, the animal gut food all at once, just so he can get the nutrients without having to taste it. And he teaches the same thing to Milo. I thought that was neat.
Yeah, that was very neat. Episode 4 is sort of because so far, I mean, I opened this up saying hey, pretty solid show, liking it a lot, but then I just go ahead and trash episodes 2 and 3. And that's because episodes 2 and 3, like I said, sort of focused on that more actiony stuff, whereas episode 4, while I was biased against episodes 2 and 3, I am biased towards episodes 4 through literally the rest of the show so far. that I've seen. I've seen up to episode 7. And the reason for that is because one of my favorite types of shows is like a sort of adventure odyssey show done well. You know, I like me some Made in Abyss, some Mushoku Tensei, and so this was right like up my alley. I really enjoy characters just walking around in unknown terrain, not knowing what's going to hit them next, going from place to place. That sort of stuff, really love it.
Yeah, the episodes 4 through 6, I would say, definitely have a strong episodic adventure feel, kind of like your Kino's Journey, your To Your Eternities. And it made it a thought came to mind where it was like, man, what if the entire show for like a longer stretch of time were just them going to like from place to place in this post-apocalypse and seeing all these different societies. Like we see in episode 5, the gun-toting children, where all the adults have gone away to earn money for their diseases, and they're left to defend their little stronghold from flying blowfish with guns. Like,
honestly,
just
I think I'd like
those kind of
that
cool
version
locations.
of the show more.
You want to see the adventures of the gun-toting children?
No, well, yes, but also like that show version of the show where it's just like them adventuring around the wasteland, having a grand old time, instead of having a big old plot to take on. I think I like that version.
It seems like they're going
more.
back to the narrative with episode 7 onward.
Yeah, hopefully it stays good for me. But at least so far, I'm really enjoying the adventure sort of stuff. And it especially helps that this show has not just such good world building, but such wacky world building. Because you never quite know what you're going to hit next. You know, it's always
you can hit like a killer grub in the stomach planted by the governor to keep his special forces from turning on him and keeping them in service. And then you can have Milo take the jellyfish girl, give her some epic mouth-to-mouth to pull the grub out of her stomach using what I can only assume is like suction from their mouth-to-mouth, and just like grabbing it with his teeth and spitting it out. That was metal.
God, that's already been turned into a GIF and respread all across Discord.
Yeah, I saw of all the clips from Rescue to Bisco that I've seen since the anime came out, that was the one that turned to people's heads because that was also in the trailer, and people were like, "Yo, he did what?"
It's a really brutal scene and like amazing. Took me completely.
Oh yeah, she vomits just before he pulls the grub out. It's pretty gross.
The girl that he pulls the grub from, Chiruru, she is probably my favorite character of the entire show. I love her sort of like blunt yet also idiotic personality. I love that she's a thief, sort of subsisting, and sort of hates her situation, but also doesn't know anything but, you know, being a peddler.
Yeah, she's like an Amazon worker.
I really love.
Oh, go on.
We both told each other to go on. Let's see. I love trying to think. There's one thing I'm sort of half remembering, but can't put into words because I haven't fully remembered it yet. So
I was gonna say, I love how she, after their mouth-to-mouth, she flirts with Milo and is like, "Oh, you must want something in return for my food or whatever. So I'll let you have your way with me." And like, she is very explicit. Well, rather, I guess, implicitly okay with Milo banging her. So she already was starting to shoot up my favorite character list for the show.
Milo and Chiruru, they need to be a thing.
Well,
just think about it. They'd be a fun couple.
She can't be muscling in on Bisco's man.
You're gonna keep on with the gay narrative, huh?
I mean, it's not my fault that they put in all those hints. You see the way he helps him rather shoot that bow. You didn't get JoJo Part 5 vibes from, well, you haven't seen JoJo Part 5, but I got very hard Giorno helping Mista shoot his gun vibes. JoJo fans know what I'm talking about.
I mean, I guess that was like kind of can be interpreted romantically, but personally, I'm Team Chiro. Chiro. God, I cannot pronounce her name.
It's easier to pronounce than fucking whatever Tyrol is.
Tyrol is easier to pronounce.
Yeah, but they you know what's fucked up about it? Tyrol, the way we would say it in English, is only like 2 syllables, but the way they say it in the show and the way it ought to be said is 3 syllables. Chiraru.
Although, to be fair, Tyrol just makes me think of Tearoll every time I say it, so maybe it's best to say Chiraru.
Speaking of Chiraru, she throws out an old gas can, which causes a giant crab to awaken underneath the War Memorial Temple, and not only is the temple a part of its back on its shell, but also all the guns adorning it, and apparently it can just use them, and that's fucking awesome.
Yeah, that was one of the first action scenes in this show that I started to, like, not mind too much, because it's like, oh, hey, this is, like, sort of, you know, battling against this super interesting creature from this super wacky world, and he has fucking guns, and it's a giant crab, like, God, it's ridiculous.
It reminded me, I don't know if you saw the Detective Pikachu movie, but it reminded me of the scene where they're on the giant Torterra.
I was about to say Torterra. Yeah. I have seen the Detective Pikachu movie, so for once I get the reference.
And so they kill it. Jellyfish Girl runs off with Milo's money in exchange for some food, which is a galaxy brain business model. I don't know why all businesses don't try to just break into your home, steal your money, and then leave you the goods.
I loved that scene, and I love that as characterization for Chiroryu. I just love Chiroryu. She's the best character in this show by far.
Were you sad that after episode 6, she didn't join the main cast, and were you like screaming at the screen, "Just join them, depressed. You cuck"?
No, it's because it's so obvious it's gonna happen. Like, she's definitely going to be one of the main characters. I don't see any other way around it.
We
gotta get main character design.
We gotta have the post-apocalyptic globe-trotting adventures of the Mushroom Keeper, the Panda Doctor, the Jellyfish Girl, and the hot bitch.
Oh, I guess we can get into that now. I was talking about before the podcast we started recording it. I was like, oh, I wonder which girl NeonManta is going to obsess over this episode. I can presume that is Pawu.
Well, it's only because her design is also the sexiest, and not just like in the cool details of, you know, how all the stuff that she wears, the metal plate, the way that her hair is always covering her left eye, so you only see her right eye. She's also very expressive. She doesn't have too many different expressions, but when she like gets into fucking serious "I'm going to kill you" mode, and her eyes like change shape, and she like gets really like serious and sullen, that I appreciate. Also, she has the most sex appeal, where she has the biker jacket on, the leather jacket that she zips up that stops right at her cleavage, which it's not very practical, because it just leaves her skin exposed. But you know what? She's got a big-ass iron pole that she can wield as effortlessly as like a wooden stick. So, you know what? Good luck getting in that close anyway.
Well, for once I can actually join in on the simpery tonight, except not for Pawu. I always forget her name momentarily. Rather, mine is for Chiroryu, because I think she is adorable, and she rocks those jellyfish braids, tails, locks. Whatever. Just the jellyfish look in general. She's the best jellyfish. And also, she needs to become a main character right now.
I was gonna say, like, I just got to the point. I'm sorry to bring up Elden Ring again. I just got to the point where I unlocked the jellyfish spirit, and now I'm gonna name it Chiroryu. While I continue the game, because I in my head I named the you can summon 3 wolves as like your spirit animals to help fight at your side. I named them the New World Order after the wrestlers Nash, Hogan, and Hall. So now the jellyfish's name will be Chiroru.
Amazing.
So then we move on to episode 5.
I guess I'll just briefly recap my thoughts on episode 4. Good 'cause it's adventure.
And it is a pretty good adventure. Just as good as an adventure, if not better, than episode 5. Or maybe, I don't know. I really liked, I like, this one definitely had the most intrigue in the kind of show that we were talking about, where it could be an episodic Odyssey-like adventure show where every setting they go to is different, has their own little culture, their own little society. This one is with there are no adults, they're just kids, and they all are armed to the fucking teeth. This is the future that the right wants for America.
Episode 5 was probably my favorite of all the episodes, and I think it's also in part due to my bias, because it's the closest, like you said, that it gets that sort of Odyssey adventure type.
It gets to that right-wing idealism.
So I thought, so basically there's like this village of children, and they're like, you can't come near here, we're gonna take you prisoner. Oh, you're Bisco? Yeah, we don't care, we're still gonna imprison you. So they get imprisoned, but actually it turns out the children are super... Oh yeah,
yeah, Bisco just offers himself up to him. Because he knows they can't do fucking shit to him. He would push all their shits in.
But as the episode sort of goes on, the kids go full tsundere from at first, trying to be all aggressive and stuff, to actually turning out to be super nice and learning to like Milo and Bisco. I really particularly liked the girl that sort of imprisoned quote unquote Milo, because she was very endearing and cute, and like clearly had a crush on him, Milo. And I thought that was kind of fun. Yeah.
And then they find out that they were tricked into thinking that they had rust, but really it was just some kind of easy disease called shell skin that's very easily curable. And Milo teaches that little girl how to cure the shell skin and basically makes her the doctor of their society.
Yeah. There's this one side plot throughout the episode where like Pawu finds these old timers and like saves them, and then it turns out the old couple is actually evil and trying to murder people.
Yeah, what was the thing with the zombies, by the way?
I didn't really understand it, honestly. I was literally about to ask you, like, what was the intention?
I was like, okay, so, like, are zombies a thing in this universe now? Or did they make the zombies somehow? Because they're like, the zombies are rigged up to these wires. So are they being controlled? Are they like being reanimated with these wires? But we'll never fucking know, because the two elderly guys are like, hey, you know what? We don't stand a chance against you. We always knew this day would come. Allahu Akbar. And then they blow themselves up. And I'm just sitting here feeling like, I guess we're just gonna sweep that one under the rug. We're just gonna pretend like that didn't exist. That didn't happen.
I thought the sort of side plot was probably the weakest part of this episode by far. It's just kind of boring and like, okay. I mean, I guess the one part of it that I liked is that they sort of go into the backstory of this shroom creep,
evil mushroom keeper,
shroom keeper. Yeah,
the evil shroom boy,
sort of like tricked the town. Although considering they're sort of psychopaths, I'm a little wondering as to how valid the story is. But I mean, I assume they wouldn't just dump it all on the viewer without it being at least mostly true. So
yeah, I think that they're definitely teasing that evil mushroom keeper to show up later in whatever, either the show or the grander story itself from the light novel. But we'll see how that goes. We're not light novel boys. We're just judging the anime on its own merits.
I really liked the scene where they take down all the flying blowfish, because first of all, the flying blowfish are just a completely ridiculous enemy.
Yeah, they look
and I
goofy
kind of
as
just
fuck.
love the concept. Yeah, but it works. They're really ridiculous, but this entire world is ridiculous, so it makes sense. It fits in somehow. And I also, another thing that I really like about it is when Bisco is like shooting them all down, and he's like sort of telling the kid like, "Hey, I'm gonna fire all these blowfish, or fire on all these blowfish. But you first need to tell me about all these railroads. All right, you need to give me the information, and if you give me the information, for every sort of railroad you tell me, I'm gonna shoot a blowfish." I sort of liked that because I mean, first of all, it's just cool and characterizes Bisco even more. But second of all, it also gives the fight sort of a grander meaning in the narrative, in the sense that they're gaining information on how to continue forward. So it was really satisfying. Just every shot, pow, more information that will inevitably help these people on their journey. There was just sort of a rhythm to it that I liked.
Yeah. And then the episode ends with we look back at the governor, and then he uses his Among Us skills to suss out the imposter among his crew, and turns out Jabi was going undercover as one of his bunny masked hooded people, and then they capture him.
Ah, what a crazy cliffhanger.
So then we move on to episode 6. We find Jellyfish Girl frozen in the tundra, and she's found by Bisco and Milo. I get that's probably just anime logic, and that she's frozen solid, like encased in ice, and she's just not dead.
I assume I think
it was just
like
for comedy.
A visual, yeah. I think I have to assume it was a visual gag on the animator's end, because I can't imagine in the novel being like she was literally frozen solid, encased in ice, and somehow was still breathing. I also like that because once again I really like Chihiro's character. I love that she gets to do all sorts of wacky stuff, like being encased in ice and like sort of freaking out about it. Just love her.
Yeah, she kind of swindles the tribe of traders that they come across for gear to get to the subway by smooth talking them.
I sort of wish they spent more time in the village, because it seemed kind of interesting. Like the guys with like the like diver masks.
The gear,
it looked sort of like.
Like the diver gear.
Yeah.
It seems like another one of those things where, much like the zombie thing, it's just a thing that we've introduced, shown to the audience, and be like, all right, now we got to move along. It's like, wait, no, I kind of want to see more of this. And the show's like, nope, we got to move on to the next thing now. Got to move on to the next scene.
Yeah. Maybe they'll get back to it. I hope they do, because that seemed really interesting. I want to know about this people and their culture and why they wear the masks. Seems really fun.
So then,
I also like that this episode takes place in snow, because I always love me a snow episode. I think snow looks very pretty in anime backgrounds, so I liked that aesthetic.
I like that the world that they live in operates on apparently fucking Minecraft biome rules, where it can be snowy in one area of the world and a scorching hot desert in the like a few miles over.
Oh yeah, I did notice that. It at least gives the world a lot of variety, so I'm not complaining.
Yeah. So then they enlist Chihiro to help fix one of the train cars in the subway tunnels, and they're able to take off in search of the Rust Eater using the book that they get from the traders that happen to contain some information that was written by previous Mushroom Keepers. And then, I'm sure this was sad for you, though once again, they leave behind Chihiro, and even though I'm not as big on her as you are, I was just screaming like, literally, what is there to lose by her joining the cast?
That's one thing that I always hate in shows where, like, this happens very often where I'm like, oh, this character would be so great to introduce to the main cast. Please just take them with you on your travels. But it doesn't happen, and I'm left depressed and sad in a shell of my former self, crying. So yeah, many tears were
Crying,
shed.
shitting, coming.
Oh yeah, all those things. Many a
So then they
tears
get
and
many a tear, many a shit, many a cum.
precisely.
Speaking of shit, they get attacked by these oily, shitty squids on the train, and Bisco helps Milo blow up the engine. He has their crab rip the engine out of the train. They throw it to the big squid's mouth, and Milo shoots an arrow into the engine to blow it up inside the mouth of the squid. And that's just another raw action scene to add to the pile.
This is my anti-action scene bias speaking again, but I was kind of bored during the scene, and in my head was just like,
I mean, it's not a very dynamic fight scene or action scene rather, but it's just a cool moment.
I was just sort of thinking in my head like, couldn't it have been a dialogue scene? I want Milo and
couldn't
Bisco
they have
to
just
build some rapport?
Could they have made peace? Couldn't they have just made peace with the giant man-eating squid? Couldn't they just talked it out?
The giant talk out. The giant talk out against the oil squid. And speaking of dialogue, that was probably my favorite part of episode 6 because I thought episode 6 was a bit weaker than like episodes 4 and 5. But my favorite parts were like when they were just sitting down to talk and Bisco was talking about Jabi and Milo was like, oh yeah, I'm going on this adventure to help my sister, and Chiraru is like, well, why would you go through that much effort to help someone who isn't you? Sort of revealing her selfishness, but also that she's sort of, maybe coming around and like, oh, maybe I should care about someone and not just subsist by stealing from people. I liked that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those post-apocalypse people you gotta do what you gotta do to survive, man, kind of shows. And it's not a new idea to be like, oh, people who have lost touch with their humanity or like their good graces and morals, and they're reconnecting by being influenced by some of the good people that are still around even in this hellhole on Earth. And it is nice to see, if even if it's not too original.
Yeah, it's not original, but it's still pleasant. I like seeing characters talk about that stuff and just sort of chillax.
There is a lot of fun back and forth in the there's a lot of fun banter in this show. Usually Bisco or Milo will have like a snarky thing to say. They even passive aggressively, they'll say something witty to the other. There's a lot of like character will say one thing and then the second character will agree with them and they'll be like, wait, what do you mean by that? Like what are you insinuating? That's always funny.
Yeah, as the show went on, I like Milo and Bisco sort of began to build that chemistry, and I always appreciated the little times when they were having like banter, because even if there isn't a lot of banter in the show, it is a lot of action adventure more so than like the dialogue, although there is a bit of that dialogue. I always appreciated that whenever it popped up. Those were probably, aside from the adventuring moments, those are probably my favorite part of the show.
One moment that I think the highlight of episode 6 was when a giant bird swooped by and took the corpse of the giant squid that they killed earlier in the train, only for the giant bird to then get eaten by the giant pipe snake that holds the rust eater mushrooms, and just the series of the food chain at work. And it reminds me of both that one scene from the SpongeBob movie where the big red fish grandma ice cream monster gets eaten by the bigger sea monster in the trenches. And also a scene from The Amazing World of Gumball where a little worm gets eaten by a bird, which then gets eaten by a monster, which then gets eaten by a bigger monster, which then gets eaten by another bigger monster.
Yeah, I remember that one from The Amazing World of Gumball. It's been done before, but this was still like a very effective introduction to the pipe snake, I think it's called. pipe snake or pipe
More
worm.
like they're smoking the pipe snake when you see all the crazy designs. Like, there's a lot of haha funny LSD mushroom jokes that I see around the forums and comments of the show. And like, haha, very, very cool, very original. How long did it take you to come up with that one, guys? You're killing it.
10 out of 10. Reddit humor strikes again.
Also, did you notice all the weird human hands and feet on the pipe snake?
I did. That was probably my favorite part of its design. What the fuck was up with
that? Yeah, that was what screamed weird. The most Made in Abyss to me. That's what made me think that was more like a Made in Abyss monster. It was like, the joke that came to mind immediately to me was, "Oh God, is Human Centipede gone too far?"
God, that was like, that was fucking Lovecraftian almost.
And then to make matters worse, fucking somehow, despite them traveling via train, Pawu found them in this trench and is now coming for Bisco's ass, and then that all comes to a head in episode 7 in the climactic fight scene between Pawu, the pipe snake, and Bisco and Milo.
Mm-hmm. I noticed that the fight scene sort of had the white whale thing from ReZero thing going on, where like the monster is white, but then they sort of, get on top of it and it sprays tons of red blood, just because that's sort of like an appealing color scheme, I guess. Except unlike the white whale fight in ReZero, this one didn't last fucking 2 goddamn episodes and was boring as shit. This one was actually like half an episode and surprisingly watchable, despite also being an action scene, which I typically dislike.
Don't remind me of the fucking white whale. Don't fucking remind me of ReZero.
Something I noticed around this scene is that maybe I'm reading into this too much, but it seems like there's sort of a trend of the male characters managing to get the female characters in a bridal carry, because in episode 3, Bisco carried Pawu in a bridal carry, then in episode 4, Milo managed to get Chiruru in a bridal carry, and now in episode 7, Bisco once again has Pawu in a bridal carry. It is a trend.
Listen, man, don't fall for it. That's how they're trying to distract you from the obvious gay agenda between Bisco and Milo at work. It's all red herrings.
What a clever setup.
Just like how they're trying to tease Pawu and a possible relationship between Pawu and Bisco. Now without Pawu,
it's just a red herring. It's just a red herring. That romantic dialogue was surprisingly really, really nice. Like I liked it way more than I expected to.
I was caught off guard when they rendered Pawu's lips for the first time, and they gave her like realistic pink human lips instead of like the normal just black line anime mouth.
Yeah. But like I have quoted the exact line. You're the only one who's called me pretty after seeing my rusting. You look quite dashing yourself. You have a cute face. Like, God, why do I like that so much? Such a nice line. I hope. I guess
Pawu ain't the only one with an iron pole now.
Did you come up with that on the spot?
Unfortunately, there's a casualty in the fight. Milo is forced to shoot off Crab Boy Octogawa's claw in order to escape the pipe snake. And together, all 3 of them take it down. By just... What do they do? They stab it and then they just grow mushrooms out of it. That's how they kill most things in this show.
Just shoot it with mushrooms. That's the way to kill everything.
And then we find out that, the Rust Eater mushroom is no good unless it comes into contact with Mushroom Keeper blood, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but right now, I'm sure they're going to explain it later, and how the Rust Eater mushrooms are probably tie back their origins with Mushroom Keepers. But we'll see how that plays out, because right now, the governor's too busy swooping in like a hot vulture and snatching the corpse of the pipe snake, and then shoots Bisco with a rust bullet.
Oh, yeah. I don't really have much to comment on that.
You don't have much comment on the governor inserting himself back into the conflict of the show?
I mean, I guess it means that the plot is gonna start rolling up again, but other than that, it's just kind of fine. Not really exactly what I like about the show, but maybe it'll end up being good. I have my hopes up.
And then the episode ends with Pawu traveling back to the city only to find her men under some kind of influence. Their eyes are all red. They got got their veins are popping out of their heads. They're trying to attack her. And she's forced to what I can only assume is surrender because they have Jabi as a hostage. And then the governor broadcasts a warning to Bisco and Milo that we don't see, but Milo does. And Milo tries to keep Bisco from going at them because he knows that Bisco is pulling on an act, and we find out that his wounds, in combination now with his rust infection, are leaving him in a worse condition overall than either Pawu or Jabi.
Admittedly, I think that this was probably Milo's most interesting moment of like characterization in the show, because like the extent to which he is willing to go to keep people from what he sees as being in harm's way and like keeping the sick away from exerting themselves, coupled with like his sort of frustration at how Bisco won't listen to him. I assume that's also part of why he went as far as attempting to put him under with some kind of like tranquilizer poison from mushrooms, and then he literally like injects him.
No, he shoots an arrow at him.
Oh yeah, Milo also tried to fucking stab him.
Bro, Milo entered his Superman mode at the end of this episode. He threw hands with Bisco, and while he did get his ass kicked, he still was able to put him down with the injection. And then he, despite wounds and all, he's geared himself up to go storm the city, go take on the governor and his goons, and save Jabi and Pawu, save his sister. It's now his turn to save Pawu after Pawu's saved Milo all this time. And now this is where Milo goes from a Super Chad to a Giga Sigma Chad.
You know, I am really interested to see where the show sort of develops after Milo sort of takes the reins solo, because obviously it's not going to be permanent, but I'm just wondering how it's going to end up. Is he going to realize the errors of his ways and go like, oh, I actually needed Bisco this entire time? Or is he going to be a complete badass and save the day, and Bisco's going to be like, you're right, I shouldn't have gone while I was sick? Who's to say? I'm actually pretty interested.
Yeah, I'd say the story of Rust Eater Bisco, it's not revolutionary, but it's definitely entertaining. I was not bored watching these episodes.
I find plot kind of hard. I find plot kind of hard to judge in terms of like rating it, but I was very near the end, you know, sort of hooked. Like as I said, sort of like on where it will go next. So I guess that means the plot's got its hooks in me, at least a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely could change depending on these last 5 episodes, how because I can't imagine that in the span of this last 5 episodes they're gonna do the entire climax, or if they do, that's gonna be one long fucking climax of them storming the city, taking on the governor, maybe defeating him, maybe not. I can't imagine they do like another episodic Odyssey type story after this. I feel like this is gonna be like the big finale. The big finale arc.
I think it could go that way. I think it could also wrap up a little quicker, or maybe have like sort of a semi wrap up, but then, you know, one sort of thread is left unresolved, and then they have to pursue that. I don't know, man. Could go a million different ways, and hey, I guess we just gotta watch and find out. It does have 2 more episodes released, other than like past episode 7.
Yeah, at the time of recording.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the first 7 episodes of Rust Eater Bisco. I feel like that we did a lot more plot summary than we did for the My Dress Up Darling podcast, and if only because we had a lot more to say, more meaningful things to say about My Dress Up Darling, in the sense of it's weird to say because even though it's a slice of life, there's a lot more meat surprisingly in that show to chew on, and pick apart. A lot more depth in its subject matter and its theming. Whereas this show, not to say that Rusty Bisco is devoid of themes. There's definitely, like I mentioned earlier, the theme of trying to do good in a world that is far beyond help, or like maybe is perceived to be too far beyond help, and Milo represents that entirely, where he is a good-natured, kind-hearted doctor boy trying his hardest to help anyone and everyone that he possibly can, even in the hell on earth post-apocalypse where there are no laws, there are monsters running around everywhere. It's just a whole clusterfuck.
There is one question I want to ask you. What do you think of the main duo of characters?
I really like the dynamic between Bisco and Milo, and how Milo is essentially, Bisco is essentially the new Jobby. Obviously not he's not as wise as Jobby, but he's wise in the ways of like the outside world, whereas Milo, because he's been in the city most of his life, he is kind of clueless when it comes to that sort of thing, but he is better with people, whereas Bisco is very naturally standoffish and aggressive, and together they form this little dynamic duo that is able to, Bisco does the heavy lifting with the action and the fighting and the whatnot, and Milo is able to provide support both with his medicine and his doctorial abilities. And
not sure if that's a word, but it works.
And his people skills.
Yeah. I will say it is a very functional dynamic. Nothing's wrong with it, but something, I guess I just couldn't connect with the characters as deeply as something like, for example, My Dress-Up Darling. And even like within the same show, I liked Chiroryu far more than either of the two main characters. That's why I wanted her to join the main cast so bad. But like I said, they're functional. I don't have any complaints. I remember voicing some concerns in episode 1, back when we did the seasonal cast, Milo is an alright character so far, but I'm waiting to see where he goes from here. I want him to have a little more depth. And admittedly, it's taking a while to get it, but something that does give me hope for the future of this show, particularly for characterization, is that as it goes on, I think Bisco and Milo are sort of building a more casual but also kind of aggressive rapport with each other, where they're all like, shut the fuck up, you're an idiot, you're a fucking moron, you suck, you never do what I say, stuff like that. But it all has this little playful tinge to it that I do find really endearing, and that's probably the best part of the two main characters for me. But I'm still waiting to get fully hooked in.
Yeah, the Rusty Bisco to me is a serviceable, narrative-driven show. If you were looking for a narrative-focused show in this season that is both unique and good enough to keep you watching from episode to episode, this show will do the job. As far as staying power, long-lasting appeal after the season is done, then we move on to the next few seasons of this year of anime. Only time will tell if it'll keep up its popularity. Right now on Mal, it only has 140,000 users. It's currently sitting at 5th place on the seasonal charts. But there's definitely a major gap between the shows. It seems like Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan, and My Dress-Up Darling are sucking up all of the attention, whereas shows to give you an example, Demon Slayer has 714,000 users right now. Then Attack on Titan has 709,000. Dress-Up Darling has 453,000, and then there's a big gap. Next show is season 2 of Ari Fuerta, 219,000, and then we have Rusty Bisco at 140,000. So between just Are Afraid of Season 2 and Rescue to Bisco in 4th and 5th place, that's like an 80,000 user difference, and Bisco isn't even in the 200,000s yet.
I mean, to be fair, 140,000 also isn't like nothing, like it's nothing to scoff at, but it's still like, yeah, I get your point. It's kind of not as popular as maybe we originally envisioned it being when it was just episode 1 out.
And that's pretty sad, because I feel like this show is better than, I mean, considering its place in the seasonal rankings, I would say that the only two shows that deserve to be more popular than it from the seasonal podcast that we did are Dress Up Darling and Akabe Sailor Uniform, whereas the former is already leaps and bounds ahead of it in popularity, whereas the latter is a niche in comparison, even though I think that show is criminally underrated this season.
Well, personally, I'd put another seasonal above this one on the charts.
Oh yeah, where is Fantasy Bishoujo? It is currently at, let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 14th place on the seasonal chart. It's behind Sasaki and Miyano, and I've heard no one talk about Sasaki and Miyano.
It's behind Sasaki and Miyano. This is painful to me. I'm in great pain. I mean, NeonManta, please help.
Hey, to be fair, since the podcast, it shut up in a whole bunch of places. It surpassed Les Dolls. I didn't think it would honestly get that far.
Thank God it surpassed Les Dolls. Okay, never mind. Faith, no longer in pain. I'm happy again. Depression.
It's ahead of Princess Connect Redive Season 2, which I honestly thought would be higher up on the list considering how many people saw Season 1.
Shit.
I guess
okay, if it's higher than Redrive Season 2, then goddamn, that's like an accomplishment. I remember Redrive or Redive, whatever it's called. That's like a pretty big show, isn't it?
Not too big, but it was like a low high tier, upper mid tier popularity show in the season it came out in. Yeah, there's definitely a big vacuum. A big hungry hippo. The three hungry hippos being played by Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan, and Dress Up Darling, and that's kind of consuming the attention from all of these other shows. It's very very one-sided season. Most of it's not great, and there's only 3 shows worth talking about.
Personally, I'd say that the best aspect, like that keeps me watching Rusty or Bisco is just that it is so watchable because its world is unpredictable. You never know quite what you're gonna get next, and that keeps it from getting ever getting too boring or too ritualistic or to anything like that. It's a very watchable show, and that I found myself surprisingly hooked by it, because even though I like I said, gave it a 6 out of 10, it's a very watchable 6 out of 10 because of its unpredictability. It's got its hooks in me. At least the world has. Maybe the characters haven't, most of them at least, but the world certainly has.
Yeah, right now, the show's sitting at around a 7 out of 10 for me. It's definitely not final, obviously. There's still 5 episodes left. It's just the level of quality I think it's sitting at right now. It could go higher, it could go lower, but we'll see with the last 5 episodes, which we'll cover in a month, probably.
I mean, hey, if the latter 5 episodes end up sort of encapsulating what I like about the show, which is its the adventure stuff, the unpredictability, the world building, and maybe build on the characters' rapport a bit, I could see it becoming a 7 out of 10. If it becomes more about the conspiracy and constant high octane action, I think I'll probably tune out. Well, not tune out per se, because I still need to watch it for the podcast, but probably sort of not like it as much. Probably end up a 5 or something like that. So hopefully it goes the former way, which is enhance the world building and stuff like that.
We'll just have to see when the show ends proper. And we will be back to do part 2 in about a month and a half on Castaway Anime. If you've enjoyed the podcast, please leave a like, leave a comment, and please, for the love of God, subscribe. Oh my God, please, just subscribe already. What are you doing? How have you not subscribed already?
You can hear us begging, do it now.
This has been Castaway Anime. I'm NeonManta.
And I'm Crunchy Bagels.
And you'll see us next time.